Okay. Yeah, can you see my screen yet? It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay, our host is going to allow me to share my screen here in just a moment. So until we get there, I imagine that we all have a good background on why do we want to plant with native plants as opposed to exotics or whatever you might want to call them. I've heard it said that if you're planting with plants that aren't native, you're essentially planting like a plastic forest, a plastic. They're plastic plants to native insects and pollinators and birds, and that's while that's maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, you can see the truth to it. Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Can you see my full screen now?
Not yet.
Okay, it's loading. All right.
There we go.
Oh, here we go.
Great. Okay. So, oops. Okay. I found this meme on the wild ones of Door County, and I thought it was pretty funny. Not meant to be an indictment of anyone who keeps a lawn, but lawns come from whatever 19th century English gardens, and as Michael Pollan says, there's no sex happening on a lawn. There's no breeding and dying and living. Not even the grass is allowed to go to seed or produce pollen. It's essentially a sterile desert, right? If lawns also have a lot of function, so I realize they're not all bad. And the island, there's not a lot of lawn on the island, and I think that's really good. If you do have a big lawn and you're tired of mowing it all, one solution is just to stop mowing a portion of it and let it start to grow up, and let some life start to happen in that area. So on the right-hand side is an image from Doug Tallamy's backyard garden. So he's planting with a little bit of lawn, but also with a lot of mixed species, native plants. And you can see the kind of rise from full sun plants in the front after the lawn with a nice neat border, going up to shrubbery and then a full canopy trees in the back. And in my mind, for Door County, this is a really great direction to try to go, like getting this kind of open woodland sort of feel. So why are we planting with native plants? Biodiversity and beauty are the two big reasons to plant with native plants. So we can still have beautiful gardens even though we're using native plants. There's a lot of options out there. I like this sign I saw in someone's garden. If there's nothing eating your plants, then your garden's not part of the ecosystem. A lot of the plants that are selected for growing in people's gardens are selected primarily because they thrive and nothing bothers them, right? They're invulnerable to wildlife. And from the perspective of creating a perfect garden, that's great. But from the perspective of trying to extend a natural ecosystem, that's really not great. Stephen Kress of the National Audubon Society, native plants, which have co-evolved with native wild birds, are more likely to provide a mix of foods, just the right size and with just the right kind of nutrition, and just when birds need them. I picked up a couple of quotes, starting from the bottom, actually. This is Doug Tallamy, who's written a couple of books, more on him in a moment. But to produce one clutch of chickadees, you need 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars. So that's an incredible statistic to me. And to think, we have
you want to come watch with me
every spring in our
You need
Right
6 to
outside our house.
9,000 caterpillars to raise one clutch of chickadee.
If you're not on mute, can you please go on mute? So, you know, how can we create plantings, encourage this type of biodiversity? And the top quote, landowners are using non-native plants in their yards because they're pretty and exotic. They're easy to maintain. They tend to have fewer pests. Desiree Narango, graduate student at Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, says, but it turns out that a lot of those insects they see as pests are actually critical food resources for our breeding birds. For landowners who want to make a difference, our study shows that a simple change they make in their yards can be profoundly helpful for bird conservation. So in addition to putting out your bird feeder, you can make sure that your landscape is producing food for birds, even when you go away for a vacation and no one's there to put food out. So this is kind of a big theoretical question, but what is native? Doug Tallamy says that he would like to talk about what he talks about without using the word native. And, you know, his reasoning is it's a very loaded and it's a very loaded word full of baggage. But, you know, the primary way people think about it is, well, what was here when European colonialists came? And then we're trying to recreate that. And you know, what was here on Door County, in Door County, and on Washington Island, it was northern hardwood conifer forest, which was transitioning from a boreal forest that still has remnants on the island and in the county. So are we recreating that northern hardwood conifer forest? And where do we source our germplasm? Germplasm just being plants and seed. Do we get it from Wisconsin only? Do we get it from the island only? You know, I think the big answer to all those questions is we're really trying to connect organism and ecosystem and trying to create habitat and promote biodiversity. So, you know, it's true that if you're taking native plants from, say, our state, from the state of Wisconsin, you know, the wildlife that's here and the plants that are here have had a long time to mature and evolve together. And so if we're trying to keep that, if that's our goal, just doing Wisconsin, you know, native approximately, that feels like a very good goal to me and a lot of people who are encouraging these kind of restoration projects. Savannas and prairies, a savanna being, right, mostly grassland with trees. You know, it's interesting that humans, it seems, just to have kind of built into their DNA that we love savannas, that we love, and this is what we come from in the, you know, in Africa, from what I understand. We come from these type of landscapes, open, you know, and open with some trees. And that's the type of landscape that humans seem to prefer. And you know, that's what we've created also in Door County, right? We have a lot more full sun environment than we used to before the area was settled. And so, you know, embrace that, right? Let's plant savannas, let's plant open woodlands with some direct sunlight down to the ground, but still using a lot of woody species that creates canopy. So I picked out a few pictures of things that, you know, when I think about doing landscaping on the island, this is kind of what I want to go toward. All of these are very pristine and beautiful, but they also show ways that you can make a wild planting, a native planting, a very orderly type of planting. So again, I'm calling it a woodland garden is kind of, you know, one idea of a good goal to do in our area. So look at some of the motifs, design motifs that they use here. They have there's full sun. There must be, because you have a lot of diverse planting down at the ground layer. And doesn't look just like spring ephemerals. All the plants all the trees are leafed out. So there's still sunlight getting down to the ground. So in the rock beds picture, you know, you have these really nice, neat edges. That planting looks pretty young. It's going to grow up and get full probably and a little unruly. But that rock bed and the nice mowed lawn will really keep it looking orderly, which is something a lot of us value in our